After a few months of not playing the game, I decided to come back, and what better way is there to start again than by entering a tournament with a strategy that's untested.
Yeah, boy.
So this particular tournament has Civ snipes, which is not good when you're a one-trick pony Mongols picker like myself. So with this in mind, I just knew I had to find a Civ that can work with my unorthodox playstyle. Lancers from other Civs just aren't strong enough. I need knights. But knights are just so bad against spearmen compared to lancers, so what can I do? The Lithuanian knight and monk Morley rush has been pretty strong in the past, but which other civ can I use? To kill spears we need higher attack rather than armour, so that just leaves me with the Magyars. But how can we do a 13-minute fast castle with a civ that has no eco bonus and be able to afford knights? So after a few hours of tweaking my Mongol Steppe Lancer build, I finally managed to find a build that works for a generic civilization. A build order that can reach the castle age at 13 minutes and 35 seconds and maintain constant knight and villager production. It can be a little bit risky, looms delayed until the feudal age, and you sell your stone, meaning no defensive tower. So you could be quite vulnerable to some feudal age aggression. Unfortunately, it took me until the day of my tournament games to get this builder confirmed, so I hadn't really had any chance to properly test it. Onto the tournament itself, we began with the map drafts and the civ drafts. Quite frankly, the maps on offer don't really fit with my playstyle. Panic starts to kick in. Onto the civ picks. I just knew that Mongols would be sniped, so I picked them, making sure that the civs that I've been practicing with would still be there, Lithuanians and Magyars. And sure enough, the Mongols were sniped. However, I see my opponent almost has a full roster of camel civs. My panic levels increase further.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
I lose game 1 as Lithuanians playing on a hybrid map versus Malay. I gained water control, but once the fish had dried up, I totally forgot that the fish traps were actually a thing, and deleted all my fishing ships to free up population space. It was downhill from there. On to game 2, I finally get the chance to test the Magyar build order. It's my map of choice. I go for Acropolis. A nice open map that fits nicely with my all-in aggressive cav-based playstyle. The game starts well, the build order's going smoothly, but then, as I'm about to click for the castle age, I sell 200 food instead of 200 stone. The build order's ruined. Having to adjust my eco selling wood so that I can actually click up to the castle age, I run out of wood for new lumber camps and farms. In come the enemy scouts. As soon as I reach castle age, I pile on the pressure, and the initial scout rush is the only attack my enemy actually makes in the whole game. I push and push with the knights, never really finding a way into the enemy base due to the number of defensive spearmen. Whilst my opponent defends and booms, I manage to start picking off villagers and make forward siege, a forward castle, but alas, the opponent's boom and defensive castles were too much. He just sat back and massed an army much faster than I could due to the bigger eco. All was lost. And from this, I learned 3 things. 1. You can't play knights the same way as you would lancers, they're just so bad against spearmen. 2. Booming behind some less all-in aggression, using that fast uptime to get to the 3TC sooner, is probably the play. And number 3, scorpions are awful. Feeling determined to make this work, I play my first ranked game with this less aggressive way of playing. The game goes well, I feel I'm finally getting the hang of how super fast night rushes should be played, but I lose again. The opponent seems to be a smurf or a better player's alt account on the way up, because I've got a win rate of 60% and less than 100 games played. On to my second ranked game. Feeling happy at my performance in the previous game, I knew that booming behind and getting defensive castles was key to success with the night version of the Morley rush. And which civ am I against? The best booming civ in the game, the Vikings. At first I'm shocked, if not slightly amused, by my opponent's username.
How much is this?
149, sir.
I've got 50p. Fuck you, bastard.
But that soon turns to disappointment once I scout my base and find my main gold. Forward and wide open to attack. Even more forward than I'm sure it should be. Almost in the middle of the map. My confidence dwindles and I feel the familiar frustration with the current state of AOE2 starting to creep back in. I find my second gold pile and decide that will be the better option for gold. I reach the feudal age without a single second of TC idle time. Today is going to be a good day.
Perfect.
Out of the corner of my eye, I notice militia walking past my front house, heading towards my main gold. At this time, this can only mean one thing, man-at-arms and archers. He heads to my main gold to find nobody there. just as the men-at-arms upgrade comes in and then heads to my berries. Like a fool, I didn't wall around the berries to keep the villagers safe. I tried to go back, but the men-at-arms are waiting for me. What can I do? I need the food. I send the villagers to wood and start smashing down some farms. This disruption has meant I can't get bloodlines. I missed out on the berry food and I need to be able to make knights as soon as I hit the castle age. Castle age comes in with almost perfect timing. Just 1 second of TC idle time, and that's when the enemy archers come to join the party. Thankfully, I'm able to get a few knights out and clear up his feudal age aggression easily just as he finds my gold. With his army cleared, I send knights forward, hoping to pick off some villagers, knowing that I need to cause some damage to stop this Viking economy snowball that's sure to come. My scout distracts his spearmen, leaving the knights to dive deep into the enemy territory, pushing them off the gold and the wood, taking a couple of villages in the process. With 6 knights in play and having gained map control, now was the time to start adding TCs. Killing 3 villagers, causing a lot of TC idle time and a huge amount of villager idle time. The raids have proven to be a success, and his castle age is delayed. Whilst adding my 3rd TC and focusing on my eco, my rustiness of not having played much for so long started to show as my knights went charging into the enemy TC, only to be obliterated. At 23 minutes my opponent reaches the castle age. At this time I've had 5 minutes of booming with 3 TCs and I've managed to get a 20 villager lead over my opponent. I'm somehow managing to outboom the Vikings.
Boom.
The next step in my plan is to get a defensive castle and make sure that my boom is well protected. I don't want to lose this advantage. I need to make it as difficult as possible for them to cause damage. Expecting me to be going 4 knights, my opponent makes a good number of pikes to support his crossbows, and a few minutes later he comes forward and starts to make a forward siege workshop. However, my castle is down at this point, and having noticed the unit comp that he's got, I know I need to switch to ranged units. 4 rangers go down and a university, and I begin to pump out skirmishers. But skirmers alone will not be enough to fight back this army. I need something to kill the mangonels. I make a few Magyar Hussar with their anti-siege bonus to do the damage and wreck the enemy siege units, whilst also making a switch to cav archers for the extra mobility. However, my micro is certainly lacking right now, and I take quite a few mangonel shots to the face, totally wiping out my army. Thankfully my economy has been largely untouched and I still have that 20 villager lead, which will prove to be invaluable as I carry on spamming troops from 4 rangers. I soon outproduce the enemy and manage to clear up his army and then begin to move in for the kill, starting to take down his forward buildings. My opponent makes the fatal mistake of investing in Imperial Age rather than massing up his troops and fighting for map control. A mistake he will live to regret. Once I've cleared up his buildings, I go forward, and with Lady Luck on my side I find 8 villagers making a castle at the front of his base, with just a few pikes for protection. I chase them down, forcing him to delete the castle foundation. With over double the number of troops and almost a 30 villager lead, I smell blood. Let the raiding begin. With skirmishers and Magyar Hussar pushing him off of wood, my cav archers raid the side of his base, bringing his villager numbers down to just 74 versus my 116. Stupidly, I leave my skirmishers alone and they get wiped out by just a handful of knights. I drop a forward castle on the hill that he wanted, but he starts to make another castle just in front of his TC. Why didn't I pick off the castle building villagers with my cav archers? This will forever remain one of life's unsolved mysteries. But even so, the writing's on the cards. The win is so close I can taste it. And all it takes is another cav archer raid and trebbing down the enemy castle to win the game. Finally, I have found how the night version of the Morning Rush should be played. And that is how I outboomed the Vikings by 17,000 resources with a civilization that doesn't have an eco bonus. So what crazy strats should we do next? How about Inca's 1335 fast castle into an eagle warrior flood? If you enjoyed this type of video, do hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you thought to it. Cheers guys, I'll see you on the next one.